I would like to take just a minute or two to tell you about what I think we need to do in the future. When the space shuttle is through flying, it's going to be replaced by a craft that is being designed now called Orion. Orion is quite an expensive machine to be taking just to the space station, and it lands in the ocean. So more than likely, what's under the present plan right now is for 5 or 6 years to get to the space station, we will have to use the Russian Soyuz and pay for each seat to go up to our $100 billion space station. I don't think the American people are going to think that's a wise thing to do when they really find out about it. That's not really U.S. global space leadership. Now, the next thing is having to fly with the Russians may be the only way out, unless we bring the Chinese in. But the current plans that are underway are to have commercial firms that have been paid some money, 2 firms, to take cargo up to the space station. And they're going to get a contract also to bring cargo down. And they're being paid to do that. And then, of course, as we expand that to crew going to the station, they're going to take the same spacecraft and take crew up and bring crew back and land in the ocean. Now, we've been landing people on a runway for 30 years. And when we finish, it'll be 130 flights of the shuttle. And once we got through the atmosphere and back down again, all of those had successful landings. And yet, we're going to say, that was then. Now, we're going back to the ocean, like Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. You people can say something that may make a difference. I hope that we're able to do that. I also feel that by the time we could get to the moon with 2 rocket launch joining together, different rockets, not the same, different rockets. That's the source of one of our biggest problems right now. We implemented a good plan, a vision for space exploration to try and get to the moon by 2020, but we did it with 2 rockets. One that's too small and the other that's too big and expensive. And it results in a lander that is just way, way too big because it has to put both spacecraft into lunar orbit. By the time that we could, under the present plan, get to the moon, it's not going to be, the Augustine group says it's not going to be 2020, no matter how much funding you put into it. It'd be the mid-20s or beyond. And we would be exposing ourselves to the Chinese just going around the moon once and beating the Americans in the 21st century. Why in the world would we want to take our human beings in NASA and go back to the moon and get there 50 years after we did it in the last century? There's not a good enough reason to do that. Water? Well, you can grow things with water for somebody's humans to eat. You can drink it. You can make fuel out of it. And what good is fuel? You can get to the moon to get water, to get to the moon to get water, to get to the moon to get water. Where's the payoff for America and the rest of the world and the taxpayer? There isn't one. So we in America, with all our experience of 40 years ago, and 6 out of 7 successful landings, and the last 4, 5 years studying to put our people back there. That's wonderful experience. And we, with a corporation, a Lunar Infrastructure Development Corporation, like Intelsat, that helped put satellites up there, kind of a good bit of it commercial satellites. We can develop the moon internationally with our leadership and take our resources and go doing interesting things, flying by comets, landing on asteroids a couple of times, even the one that's threatening us in the future in 2029 and 2036. And then we can land an exploration module on the moon of Mars. Why the moon of Mars? Well, the people who are leading the Spirit and Opportunity, the 2 rovers that are on the surface of Mars, what they have done in 5.5 years, according to the leader of that program office, could be done in 3 weeks or 1 week if we had intelligence around Mars controlling those machines directly. That's the most important place for us to send our people. And I believe we can land on Mars after 3 visits to the moon of Mars, Phobos. Then we can land. My schedule gets us there in 2031. But what we need is a 25-year plan of 10 years of recession funding, sort of, not real accelerated, but will reaffirm that settling on Mars is a good plan on the 50th anniversary of landing on the moon. And in 2019, we'll accelerate that funding and carry that out. Now, the Wright brothers flew in 1903. 66 years later, the Eagle spacecraft landed on the moon. If I add 66 years to 1969, I get 2035. Surely America has the wherewithal to be able to put our astronauts on the moon in the next 66 years and begin to settle Mars. Now, that's what I choose to want to project to the American people. That's why I do a rap song, so the rappers will get to know what space is all about. That's why I write children's books that we sold here today with Wendell Miner. We sold another one earlier than that, Reaching for the Moon. And I'm going to do other children's books. I'm going to change the words to fly me to the moon, to be fly us to red Mars. I wish that I could have been here on July 20th instead of in Washington, D.C., because it is the landing, the lunar module, produced by the Grumman Corporation here. And I'm sorry that I kept you from your dinner, but thank you very, very much for being here.